Well, with us now is Hasam Zomlot, who is the head of the Palestinian mission to the United Kingdom. Thank you very much for joining us here in the studio. How is it that today has been more orderly than the chaotic scenes that we saw on Thursday when we saw the last exchange and release?
The scenes is not what matters. What matters is that
it does. Sorry, Mrs. Zomlot, you know that it matters, and you believe that something has changed in the last few days.
The important thing is that these captives are being released. There is an exchange, and we in the Palestinian side see hundreds of Palestinian captives. Most of them have been behind bars for decades. Some of them almost 40 years. I mean, this is the longest serving captives, political prisoners, between parentheses, on earth in history. And therefore, of course, it's a sense of relief that such a process is taking place and people are seeing their freedom finally after all these years and decades. But the real scenes that shocked me and the world is the state of affairs, is the state of health of the Palestinian captives.
It's very hard.
Unprecedented.
But it's very hard, isn't it?
I know some of them.
It's very hard to state that. And other people who've commented and said they've dismissed what's happened to the Israeli hostages, that they've come out and they look healthy and they're perfectly fine.
Yes.
Those two things can coexist, can they not?
Can you compare between the state of health of the Israeli captives? And please, Martin, we need to agree on the terminology here. You call the Israeli side hostages and you call our side, the Palestinians, prisoners. And this is even against the international...
Some of them were kept in jails as opposed to prisons, weren't they? When there is an important distinction.
Please invite an international law expert next time and ask him, in such a situation when combatants, active combatants, are taking, what are they described? They will tell you they will be described as captives or at best prisoners of war. And the Palestinian people, when they are described as prisoners, it gives the impression that those are criminals who have been convicted in a court, which is not the case. Let me give you one example.
Talk to us about the proportions then, because some have not been convicted of anything, have they?
Most of them, actually. I'll tell you the proportions. Israel, since its military occupation of the occupied territory, the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and Gaza, has detained 800,000 Palestinians. 800,000. That is more than 20% of the entire population and almost half of the male population. The policy is primarily to crush the Palestinian spirit. It has nothing to do with security. And if you look at the half-male population, you will see that most of them have been detained under the so-called administrative detention in martial courts, where the rate of conviction is 99%, and all the way to what the Israeli human rights organization B'Tselem described only recently as welcome to hell, where these Israeli camps have turned into torture camps and murder and sexual abuse. This is very well documented. And that's why, in May, this is an opportunity for the international media, including the BBC, to shed the light on the criminality Israel is inflicting on our people for all these decades.
But when a state, and it's Israel in this case, feels under threat from some people who don't even believe that that nation has a right to defend itself, isn't it understandable that they round people up when they feel threatened by those people?
You know how many people they have
it's a question.
You know, this whole issue of right of self-defense has allowed Israel to inflict the mass murder and mass destruction, what the ICJ now describe as plausible genocide. This is not an act of...
You know what I'm going to have to say. I'm going to say Israel denies that. They say that they were in pursuit of Hamas terrorists who hid behind their own people.
And that's how you do it? That's how Britain did it when there were issues in Northern Ireland? You went and bombed Belfast? You killed 60,000 people, innocent people? What is this logic? Israel has been behaving in a thuggish manner above international legality, and the international media has been giving it all the cover to actually quit the responsibility. I mean, look at the terminology. Look how we describe things. Of course there are issues, but you go and arrest children. You know, as we speak now, after the release and the exchange, we have more than 400 Palestinian children in Israeli prisons.